Welcome to Looper Talk, episode 10. My name is Tim Palmer. This episode today, we're going to talk about the truth about mental game. And we'll talk about my opinions on mental game, the importance of it, and why we care. I think that's something that we're all looking for. And again, I'll share my thoughts, but I think everyone is unique. It's a kind of a subjective conversation. So when we start to talk about developing it, we're going to speak more about how we as individuals can learn at our own pace and how we can do it ourselves without it being so structured. More of a option that allows us to have the freedom to learn within our realm of reason for us. So, but first, I want to show y'all something. Some shit. Okay, hold on. We're going to screen share. Okay. Oh, we can't play it. I don't want the fucking music. Okay, so this is a PGA of America post that happened today. Oh, man, that's terrible. Good God. So it's a club championship for the women, I believe, or it's a women's club championship. And they propose to each other, and it's two women. Hey, there we go. Two women. Right on. Just unbelievable, huh? All right, so what are we gonna do? Okay, so I'll tell you my thoughts. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not against gay people. I don't care that you're gay. I think you have a mental illness. I certainly don't want you around my kids necessarily without me being there. Just from the stories I've heard, it's not personal to you. It's just predominantly when I hear about couples getting married of the same sex, there's a lot of news and stuff about interesting, not criminal activity is what I'll call it. So not all there. I have grown up with some great people that are gay. I've met and I'm friends with kids whose parents are gay and they are great. So I'm not saying everything. It just shows to me where the PGA is headed. I'm not a huge fan. I'm a Christian. I prefer not to be part of the LGBTQT community. Again, no offense. I'm not saying you don't need to exist. Please do your thing, just not on my front lawn. So, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that shit. I don't like to be a part of an organization that endorses that. I want good Christian values and I want some sense of normality. Because as we've seen throughout this country, the more we have allowed this kind of behavior to be a part of it, we have seen that it's promoted more violence. Our crime is unbelievably high. Back in the 80s, 70s, and 80s, your kids would be going outside all day long. And the more we have DEI, immigration, we can't even. I'm so paranoid with all the sex trafficking with kids and all this stuff, and hearing about how a lot of the gay community, there's a lot of incest and rape. I just can't. It's just not a good look. So I hate that there's a negative stigma attached to that for you all. I apologize, but that's just where it is. And stats don't lie. I would assume that if we looked into that, I wouldn't be very far off there. But yeah, so if you're part of the PGA of America, you are also part of the LGBTQT community. Ooh, that makes me want to revoke my membership, which more than likely, most of the shit that I talk about, who knows? Anyways, so subject of the day, mental game. So much fun. So let's just get into the brass of the bullshit to me. And if you were gonna get this or click this episode and you thought, oh, he's gonna read a bunch of Bob Rotella and whoever, and it's gonna be these mental books or talk to you about an app you can download where it'll show you a quote every day, like, fuck off. All right, look, no, I didn't play on the PGA Tour, but I played very high level golf, single A ball if it came to pro baseball. All right, I understand how it works. Those who can't do teach. Unfortunately, I've had to learn to accept that. Part of me still thinks I can make it, but boy, I would have to work hard. And now having kids and understanding the realities of the situation, it would. God bless me if I have that opportunity. I will do my best. But man, that's a hard ticket to sell. But anyways, I understand what the reality is. And so for you all listening to this podcast, I will tell you a common story that I get from players that I caddy for. And these are the good players. But these are what it is. So we have player A, he's a +2. Shows up at the golf course. He's ready to go. He's did his warm-ups, he's done everything. Younger player, and we go out and play, and we shoot like 7 over. And the whole day we don't hit bad shots at all. We make stupid mistakes. And we let a lot of things get in the way. Like, for example, we're on a par 4. We miss it right in the rough, and we have a lie that's in between two berms in the rough, and it's really annoying. Now, he's only 155 out, but this lie is a fucking burl, dude. I mean, you couldn't. It's deep in there. And he's like, well, we'll just squirt a little 8-iron. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, man, how are you even going to hit the fucking ball? You need to just get a wedge out and then try to get to a number. Unfortunately, I know it's 155, and this dude's thinking, we're just going to full on send it. No real train of thought of the reality. I know his gut instincts were screaming at him, but he went ahead and went for it, kind of topped it into the ground, and then we had to take it unplayable, and then we hit it on and 2-putted, and we made a double. And that was the 4th hole, and from that point on, we didn't really settle in very well. And so what to me that tells me is there's a lack of experience there. And so I want to tie this in to you all, especially good players who want to creep around the corner and get better. Anybody, not just good players. This is for anybody. And what I think the best way to mentally understand this is no matter what you read, any mental book, any article, it's not going to instantly fix your golf game. They are literally dopamine hits for you to get sucked into mentally, okay? Because you're getting convinced that this information you're gathering is going to change you immediately. So since you're reading it, oh, I've read something, guess what? I'm instantly going to be better because I've gained this knowledge. To an extent, yes, you will become smarter, you will become more understanding, and therefore that can create possibilities, but there's no guarantees. And with golf especially, if you do not absolutely come with experience, it's not gonna it doesn't matter. And I can say this 100% with confidence because I have read Zen Golf. I'm terrible with my memory. Obviously, it's from other issues. We know that why. But most of the Bob Rotella books, I can't think of the names. The Ben Hogan book, because he talks about some mental stuff in there too. And I just really like that what I'm trying to say is I like that I've read them and I've enjoyed the book, and that part of it's great, but I didn't gain really nearly as much knowledge as I did from experience. And this is why. So we are at the Wyndham pre-qualifier. It's at Bermuda Run. It's in Winston-Salem on Thursday. The pre-qualifiers would happen on Thursday, and then Monday's the Monday queue. So Thursday we get there, and there's a lot of good. It's obviously it's a pre-qualifier for a PGA Tour event. You're not just going to show up slouching. This is the digs, the big boys. I've first hole. I literally hooked this drive so bad it maybe went 30 feet off the ground. It just sniped into a bunker. I have like 160 out, and I got to cover this lip. It's kind of annoying. Try to hit a pitch and wedge, hit it just a hair thin so it catches the lip, comes back down. And so I regained myself, and then I hit it to 1.5 feet and tap in for par. And my dad was caddying for me, and he goes, "Man, how did you just regroup?" And I said, "No, I didn't regroup at all. I just committed to my shot and hoped I hit a good one." And I think in that moment he realized that I wasn't this superior athlete that hit this incredible shot and stood on top of it like, yeah, I'm the man. Like, I was nervous as shit. And I was already pissed off because now I'm having to get up and down from par from 160. And so he's like thinking, oh, he just mentally went through that. And it was like, no, I was, because that was a big tournament for me. And in my opinion, I didn't deserve to be there. But the fact that I hit that shot under those circumstances, he couldn't believe it. And I'm thinking, okay, right. I couldn't really believe it either. But because I played in so many tournaments, that's why I was able to handle my nerves, because when I'm in a tournament, I have this feeling of commonness where I can go back to previous tournaments and think about, have moments that relate to the moments that I'm currently dealing with. And then that way, moving forward, the more I have these moments in tournaments, the easier it'll be for me to handle them. Okay? So let's talk about why the mental game is important. Now that we talked about reading books are useless and that they make them because they just want dopamine hits. And I don't want you to not go read. Please read. I just want you to understand that when you're reading books, that it's not guaranteeing you this sharp mental game. It's really not. You have to go out there and do it. And we'll explain about that towards the end of the episode. But let's explain why the mental game is important. And this is a very obvious, now we're getting into more of an obvious topic, especially for your better players. So forgive me. Feel free to move along faster if you want. But for most people, I think the stuff I'm going to talk about will be very beneficial. So, mental game, why it's important. So let's take a scenario, or even this. I think most people deal with this. So when we go on the driving range, this is a very common thing. Most people hit it pretty good. Or for a beginner, they can at least get it up in the air, and there's a lot going on, and they feel confident, and they feel like they can go out on the course. And then you go out on the course, and it's a whole different ball game. We don't play well. We hit some weird shots. The lies are different. Everything's off. Able to comprehend the difference there. So we go back to the range and we hit. And we go back to the course, same deal, and it's this disconnect. And we're trying to figure out why. And the reason why we have this disconnect is because there's an element of consequence there. And that element of consequence really puts pressure on the mental game. And so on the range, there is no element of consequence. So you're not ever training your mental game on the range. What you're really doing is you're simply working on your swing. It's all about the mechanics, feel, how to get the rhythm down, tempo. There's all these elements to the range that have zero to do with your mental game. Now, there is a small aspect where you can gain confidence on your swing, but when you bring it out to the golf course, you need to understand that once you add that element of consequence, it becomes a much different scenario mentally. And that is why mental game is so important, because it teaches you how to deal with that element. And that is why these professionals practice with elements of consequence involved, because they are trying to replicate what it's like on the golf course. And that is why, in my personal opinion, for me at least, for me to develop a good mental game, I needed to practice on the golf course more. And over time, I have tried the range, especially lately, the last 5 or 6 years. I spent more time on the range than ever. And I think a lot of it was living in Oregon. The weather's not the greatest, so I didn't really. I'm kind of a fair weather golfer in a way. I'm not a huge fan of being a mudder. So Oregon, you kind of have to be through 5-6 months out of the year. So golf season becomes a little interesting. And being on the range that much was where I started to see that element of consequence kind of float away in a way, some parts, because I got so used to not having to deal with it as much, which is why I think tournament golf is especially important for those. You need to consistently play in that tournament mode, because then you become used to that element of consequence. And with that element of consequence, you can then learn how to deal with failure within these moments. And the more you can learn how to deal with failure in those moments, the more you will be able to succeed down the road. It's a very simple formula. The problem is, like we talked about earlier in our early podcast, golf has become slightly unaffordable. So for those people who want to get that mental game down and have those opportunities where they're in that moment where there is that bigger element of consequence, then they can develop mentally. And for us, that sucks that we have to pay in order to do that. So the mental game is important because it helps you understand the element of consequence. And golf is all about managing your emotions when you're put up against consequences. And that's not just negative, that's positive. If you have a good hole, you need to maintain your integrity going into the next hole. You can't celebrate. You can't sure, you can celebrate a little bit, but once you get to that next hole, the celebration's over. You need to be back to being focused. And sometimes when we make a birdie, we tend to lay off the focus. And when we lay off the focus, that's when the PBFU happens. And in my line of work, I see PBFUs, and it's post birdie fuck ups for those who don't know. I see those on a regular basis. I can almost call them out. You have a guy makes a birdie, gets to the next hole, we're on the tee box. He's talking about his birdies. He's high-fiving. Yeah, man. Tequila shot, boom, gets on the tee. He's just loose as a goose. Duck hooks it. Or, whatever. You get it. That happens 80-90% of the time with your mid-high handicapper players. Okay, so now that we know this, and I've hinted on this multiple times, how do we develop a good mental game? And mental game to me is simply developed around experience. Period. That is it. The more you play, the more you put yourself in situations, the more you test yourself, the harder your practice sessions are, the better you will get. In golf, you have to walk into the fire. You cannot walk around it. You can't sit on the edge and expect to get good. You have to learn how to take criticism. You have to learn how to deal with failure. And I mean failure. 95% of golf is failure. And on top of all that, you have to learn how to be disciplined and you have to learn patience. So golf is a very mental game. It is very important to the game. It's one of the more crucial elements to the game. But at the end of it, we have to understand that in order for us to develop a good mental game, we need to keep putting ourselves in situations where we develop that experience. That is why the PGA Tour players, that is why they are so good at playing in front of people, because they have been in that situation hundreds of times. And after time, your body, your brain, everything becomes used to this element of consequence. And when you're used to that element, you become free from negativity, from any sort of attachments, because you understand the reality of the situation. Why? Because you have been a part of it so many times. All these people can tell you certain things. Hey, when you get up to a brand new hole and you've never seen it and you wanna hit a good tee shot right down the middle, close your eyes for 10 seconds and visualize it. That might work for you, but that might not work for me. And the real reason why he wrote that book is because he wants your money. But at the end of the day, like, you're reading something that might not be for you. And the only way you can really know what's for you is get in that experience, get into that situation and figure it out. Sure, you might be able to try that. And then at the end, if it doesn't work, try something else. But that's the key with the experience is you'll continue to keep trying different stuff. You'll keep trying new things and you'll eventually figure it out. But reading these mental game books, spending that money on that, it's almost a waste of time. If you enjoy reading, sure, I'm not going to say don't read. Please read. But if you don't enjoy reading, don't waste your time. Just go play, go get experience, and understand that every failure that you have, make it a learning experience. It's as simple as that. And after that, you continue to grow at your own pace. You continue to do what's necessary for you. No. And like I said, if you want to read some books, feel free to read some books. I would recommend actually listening to people audio wise. I think that ends up becoming easier for a lot of people nowadays with the cell phones and how constantly stimulated we are. I think audio hearing tends to be a lot easier. But I think if with the golf reading, I would stick to stories. Read about people's stories and what they've gone through and learn from that experience. I think that's a much better way of gaining something from reading. If you're just listening to someone tell you something, like, who gives a fuck at that point? Why? Sure, that again, that might help you. But what they're simply doing is they're telling you how they mentally dealt with golf. And hopefully that might help you, but maybe we are all different people. And golf is such a subjective game. There is no reason for us to think that one specific idea is meant for everybody. It's not. That's just not how it works. And any really good teacher will tell you that. So the way to really guide yourself mentally to become sharper in this game is to continue to put yourself in tough experiences that have a ton of consequence at the end of the day. That's if you want to get really good, make yourself so nervous that you throw up before a tee shot. And I've been there and I love it. I hate that I love it, but I do. And it will forever, I think that will forever be part of the game. And I think real people, real golfers will tell you that. Maybe not because they don't want you to know the truth, but at the end of the day, golf is not going to give you anything until you actually show up and go out there and earn it yourself. And that's mentally too. So Well, trying to think. I had to see what I have today. If I had a story, sure, I got a little story at the end. Oh, I had I had this family or their siblings. There was 3 brothers and a sister, and they were from Calgary. They were awesome people, really nice, and they play golf. I think 5-6 times a year, roughly. Type of people, 15 to 30 handicaps. But the lady I had was good, and she hit her driver like shit, man, like 250 sometimes. Like roasted it. At least over 210. Like a bad one was 180 to 210. Good one was like 210 to 2. I mean, I'm telling you, she got up there pretty decent sometimes. And she shot 79 at Pack, which our at Bannon Dunes, Pacific Dunes is tough. It's a really tough course. It's Tom Doak, undulated, got a lot of bunkers. All the best angles in the greens are in the rough. So you're always aiming for the edge of the fairways, blind shots. It's like a links course, but you have to hit it in the air. It's almost annoying to play. Visually, it looks great. Probably within the resort, it has the highest shot value. So when you hit a good shot, you feel the most rewarded there. And she shot 8 over. Pretty cool. 79. So that was the highlight of my week for caddying. We did good. That was the lowest score she's ever had, and the boys all wrote down scores, and then she signed the scorecard. Yep, that's pretty. That's so those moments as a caddy. That's why we do it. You all know, we know. That's why we do it. It's a blast to see people that happy, and they're all siblings. So the youngest was 38, oldest was like 45. So they're really close in age too. It was good. Good humor. I love Canadian humor. You all are funny as shit up there. So dry. It was awesome. Super nice too. Just tip more. Sorry, Canadians are cheap, but they're great. They actually tipped me good. So I don't want to say that. They actually tipped me really good. They were great. But nice people. Canadians are always super nice. It's awesome. Their sense of humor is good. Yeah, I loved it. But anyways, that's it for Looper Talk. I thank you all for listening in. Episode 10, moving along. This is awesome. And for those who've been supporting me, I really do appreciate it. So, we're going to start doing every Sunday, roughly just once a week. Yeah, we'll go from there. So thank you all for tuning in. And remember, lighten your bags, 200 a strap. Y'all have a good night. Thank you.